Welcome to Unit 1, Module 3. And in this module, we are going to be looking at the specificity and order of styles and how this affects which style applies to which page elements when. In Module 1, we saw this flowchart and we looked at the first 2 points on it. And next, we are going to look at point number 3, which is specificity. Specificity is one of the more complex areas of CSS declarations, so we're going to spend a little bit longer time on this. What exactly is specificity? Let's begin with an example to illustrate quite what the concept means. So in this example, we have a web page, we have a heading, and we have some links. I'll just open up the web inspector so we can see what is going on. And we're going to focus mostly on this list of LIs. And as you can see here, each LI has a link, and the final LI has a special class applied. And inside the CSS, we can see that the A tags inside the navigation have a declaration, and so does the class down beneath. So why is the class not applying in this case, and we don't have a background color of orange? This is because this declaration has more specificity in its selector than this declaration. There is less detail in the featured class than in the declaration above. Let's look in a bit more detail about how specificity is decided, and then we'll jump into an example to illustrate this. So first, if a selector has more IDs, then it wins out. If that is a tie, then the selector with more classes wins out. If that is a tie, then the more type selectors, or tags if you like, wins out. Let's look at this CSS listing to illustrate what we just discussed. So here we have 4 declarations. The first one is 4 tags, nothing else. The second one is 3 tags and 1 class. Then the next one is 2 classes, and finally we have 1 ID. So in this listing, the fourth one with the 1 ID is the most specific because there can only ever be one element with 1 ID on a page. As it is the most specific selector, it can be very easy just to use IDs all the time, but you should avoid them because there can only ever be 1 ID of any one name on a page, so you have to resort to using multiple IDs to target the elements you want. And there are better ways to do this. There are certain use cases where you might want to use them, but unless absolutely necessary, you should try not to as much as possible. Let's look at a way we could actually solve the problem that we had in our last example. So in this HTML listing, a little bit has changed. We now have a slightly new page structure with a new ID here on the UL, and we have our LIs, our links, and a class on the last link. Let's switch to the first way we could have a look at this in this CSS file. And in this case, we're going to try to make the featured class more specific. So first, we have created this declaration that has 1 ID, 0 classes, and 1 tag. And here we have 1 ID, 1 class, and 0 tags. And so in this case, it wins out because it is more specific. For solution number 2, we're going to take a slightly different approach. We're going to use the same existing page structure, but leverage some elements we didn't use before to make everything else less specific. So let's switch to the CSS where most of this magic happens. And I have some numbers here in the comments that are kind of keeping a running scoring of what's winning out here. So first we're going to leverage this unused class we had, the nav class. So currently on 0, 1, 0. And then beneath that, we leverage again with the LI to have a class and a type selector. And beneath that, for our links, we again do the same. We use the class and we use the A type selector. And at the moment now we can see that we have both of these with winning out on the scoring. And finally, to get the feature to change color, we can now leverage the class with the featured class to get 2 classes and make it the most specific, so the background color changes. Returning to our flowchart now, let's have a look at the final point here, and again another potential solution to the example we've been looking at. So strangely, order and the source order actually matters. So declarations that come later have precedence over declarations that come before. So you could have similar specificities, but if a declaration comes later in a file, then it wins out. Looking at this example, we have a slightly different page structure here. We're going to focus on this paragraph of text beneath the links. And here we have a specificity that is equal. One class and one type selector, one class and one type selector. But the second one comes later in source order, so it wins out. This is a simple kind of fix to lots of specificity problems, but sometimes CSS is auto-generated from multiple sources, so you can't always guarantee what order it's going to come in the final file. But if you can, then it could be quite a nice, simple solution to some of your specificity issues. So we covered quite a lot in this module, so let's summarize a little bit. Origin versus scope versus specificity versus source order, lots of different things to think about, equals the cascaded value. And the cascaded value is the value that renders on your web page.